Star Wars 7x7, episode 1912. Today we're going to look at that brief trailer for Jedi Fallen Order, which incidentally we kind of predicted in its own way. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode where we're going to talk about the brief snippet of Jedi Fallen Order entitled Cal's Mission that was revealed during the global live stream for Triple Force Friday on Thursday. And we talked about this actually at the beginning of September and about things that we might get to see during the month of September. So this was actually one of the things that we talked about, the possibility of seeing more Jedi Fallen Order footage. Well, we have done that, and there's more on the landing pages for the website for Jedi Fallen Order that are revealing additional information. One of the things that we've learned is that Kashyyyk obviously is not the only planet that's getting visited. There haven't been any labeled reveals, so when you go, into the game and they show you different planets that you can navigate to, they're not labeled in the footage that's been shown so far. But as far as pre-ordering the game, a couple of different lightsabers have been shown, and one of them references the planet Magito, and another one references the planet Umbara. So that strongly suggests that those two planets are going to be appearing in the game. And what do we know about those two planets? Well, Magito is a frosty world, and very intriguingly, Kyber crystals can be found there. And this is also the planet, you've actually seen it on the big screen if you've seen Revenge of the Sith. That is the planet where Ki-Adi-Mundi meets his demise at the hands of the Order 66 turned clone troopers. And interestingly, this is a planet that was mentioned in Catalyst, the Rogue One novel by James Luceno, the prequel to Rogue One, as was Umbara, which is described as a shadow world. And there was a story arc for the Clone Wars cartoon series that took place on Umbara, but it also has ties to the new original, I guess you could say, Thrawn novel, the rebooted Thrawn novel, where there was a pirate called Night Swan who tried to take over the Dunium mines, who sabotaged them with the notion that he was going to be able to get a better deal bribing Imperial officials if they were running the Dunium mines on Umbara than if he was dealing with the native Umbarans. And so, yeah, that was the whole deal behind that situation. But I'm sort of digressing because we are talking about the footage that was released. And so one of the things that we see a lot of is Cal facing off against the Second Sister, who is a member of the Inquisitorius, which is a division of Sith users that was working underneath Darth Vader's command, and more on him in a moment. And there were 10 of them, and alternately brothers and sisters, but actually one of them shows up that might have been dead, and it kind of raises a little bit of a question about the timeline of this. We know that this takes place shortly after the events of Order 66, but there is a horn-chinned character that shows up later on in the footage who is actually the Ninth Sister. So we have another member of the Inquisitorius showing up in this video game as well. The Ninth Sister, the last time she was shown in any canon story was in the second series of the Darth Vader comics. The sixth brother had actually cut off the Ninth Sister's leg in trying to escape from purge troopers that had had their own Order 66 switch flipped. That's a long and complicated story. According to Wikipedia, the Ninth Sister is still alive and survived that encounter, but I don't see anything in that actual issue as issue 17 of the 25-issue run in that second series. There's nothing in there that really suggests that the Ninth Sister escaped from that situation, but who knows? I guess the jury's out. And it is entirely possible that maybe this is taking place before the Jedi Fallen Order video game footage. Wherever we are in the timeline could be taking place before that story, but the Darth Vader second series is supposed to take place within the first year after Revenge of the Sith, so maybe it's a concurrent thing. But we do have the advantage of knowing a little something about the Ninth Sister that we don't have for the Second Sister, as in the luxury of knowing more about their particular powers. So the Inquisitors were corrupted Jedi, and in particular, the Ninth Sister was very strong empathically and said that her powers only got stronger when she turned to the dark side of the Force. So she is a great empath and can sense the emotions of people around her. So I'm sure that's going to come into play somehow in the game. Now, back to the Second Sister. We know from footage that Cal fights her a lot and actually escapes with the help of Seer Junda, who is a former Jedi herself. And at one point she says, hey, you know, I know you don't trust me, but we have a common cause and a common enemy to Cal Kestis. And she ultimately invites him to be a part of the stuff that they're doing, and he agrees. And there's at least one other part where she says, we're not hiding anymore, Seer does. So yeah, that obviously has very much a flair for the dramatic. Meanwhile, there is another voiceover of a more modulated female voice, and it isn't explained necessarily where it's coming from, but I'm guessing this is Second Sister related, where she says, whoever the she is, that he's looking for something, presumably this is Cal, and something precious to the Empire. And then later on, as we see a sequence where the Ninth Sister is there and there are other people lined up and Cal's going, no, as you know would happen in a classic Star Wars story, voiceovers saying, you can't save them, not from the Empire, not from the dark side, not from me. Dun dun dun. But what could he be looking for that would be so precious to the Empire? Well, yeah, who knows, aside from restoring the Jedi Order potentially, and there is a scene where he finds a symbol for the Jedi Order, dusty on a wall someplace, and he has to wipe it off. But yeah, that of course is still a mystery. So there's some, you know, neat sequencing stuff and some very teasery story hints here, but yeah, not a heck of a lot new aside from the appearance of the Ninth Sister, the horn-chinned, not a Deveronian, a Duartan. And yeah, one other thing too that is sort of a blink and you'll miss it, although you don't blink with your ears. So I'll explain that after the break. Stay tuned. Hey Rebel Rouser, I've made some changes to the asteroid belt level at patreon.com/SW7X7, and they are all with sponsors in mind. So if you want to get the word out about your business, your product, your service to a dedicated Star Wars audience, then please check out patreon.com/SW7X7 and look for the asteroid belt level for details. Again, that's patreon.com/SW7X7. Welcome back. So, the whatever blinking is with your ears and you'll miss it moment happens about 48 seconds into this new footage, and I will put it in the show notes and in the YouTube description, so the link will be there for you to check it out. But there's a moment where he puts his hand on a stone wall, which then rolls up and opens up, and he's able to go into some sort of cavern. And when the scene switches into him being in this cavern, there is a sound that sounds very much like the raspy breathing of Darth Vader. And this is right before the voiceover about he's searching for something precious to the Empire. There's been no hint or indication that Vader is going to be involved in this story whatsoever. Like, that's not even a rumor or a leak or a spoiler I've seen anywhere. But if you listen to the audio mix, you can hear something that sounds very much like his raspy breath. And we do know that part of that time period where this is taking place, he is actively hunting Jedi. So it might be a great surprise on the one hand for Darth Vader to appear in this game, and yet on the other hand, it might not be all that much of a surprise because of his activities during this point in time in the canon timeline. And that is going to do it for my look at the new footage from Jedi Fallen Order and for this episode of the show as well. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.